you, Tisha, and thank you, Lisa. I am truly thrilled to be with you. I and my team, Cody and Wendy here, drove from Sierra Vista this morning because we did not want to miss the opportunity to be with you. You all have done a great job in your new club, and you're doing wonderful things, and really, really pleased to be part of you today. So people have asked me over the years to run for public office, and I always said no. I said God would have to completely change my heart to even consider campaigning for any political office. But I've received a calling. I can't sit back while I see the ruling class trying to turn citizens into subjects. I'm a wife and mom. I can't sit back while government policies strip away parental rights, mandate masks and medical treatments, and indoctrinate our children. I'm an attorney and a manufacturing executive, and I can't sit back while federal government overreaches and assaults our businesses. And I've been legal counsel for a thriving family business for 24 years, and I can't sit back when I see the federal government trying to turn private businesses into their enforcement arm to carry out mandates that they had no legal authority to do in the first place. And I'm a third-generation Arizonan and patriotic American, and I can't sit back, thank you. And I can't sit back when I see the federal government spiraling debt and devaluing our dollar and empowering our enemies, and it causes a firestorm of inflation that hits all of us at the gas pump, at the grocery store, and everywhere, all while refusing to do their constitutionally mandated job to guard our border. Tucson had its highest murder rate ever. In Phoenix, violent crime is up nearly 100%. I spoke recently with a mom whose child was killed by a criminal who crossed our border illegally, and I want to restore our safety and the freedoms and opportunities that have meant so much to me and my family in building ping golf from my grandparents' garage to a top brand, and I want to preserve that safety and those freedoms and opportunities for us and for the next generation. These issues are personal to me because of my experience here and my family's experience. My grandfather was an immigrant who came to the U.S. legally with his dad, and his mom died shortly after they got here. And he went through hardships. He was transferred from family to family that spoke different languages, and he at one point stopped speaking altogether. But he kept his faith. He worked hard. He ended up becoming the lead engineer for developing the tricycle landing gear for the Navy's first jet, so it could land on an aircraft carrier during World War II. And then he helped develop adjustable rabbit ear antennas. Do you remember those? On your TVs? And he decided that the next thing he invented after that, he would patent and make himself, and that happened to be the ping golf putter. Yes. And so my grandparents moved to Arizona in 1961. They were making the putters in their garage. And then they bought a building in Phoenix, and we are still there to this day. Awesome. President Ronald Reagan personally handed my grandpa the Export Excellence Award. And my grandmother worked beside him the whole time. She was the business brilliance that allowed his engineering gifts to thrive. And she had to get up her kitchen stove so that he would heat treat the clubs on the stove. And my uncle would hold a club out the window to do the wind tunnel testing as they rode down the road. Whatever it took to do the business, they did and we did. And I'll tell you what, there's no government bureaucrat or woke international mega corporation executive who understands what it means to do that. During the pandemic, when we were shut down, at the beginning, when all our retail shops were closed that do the custom fittings and all, when we opened up again and demand came back, I was out on the manufacturing line, as most everybody in my family was. Whatever it takes to get the job done, when you're running a business yourselves, you make it happen. From the time I was 16 years old, I knew I wanted to go to law school to be a problem-solving advocate for people. I had seen that. I came from a family of problem solvers. They love Arizona. They proved with their lives and work that it doesn't matter what your background is, your social class, your circumstances at birth, with hard work and faith and the help of others, you can rise to become a blessing to the world. And I told my parents and grandparents I was going to law school, and they said, "Oh, that's too bad. We don't need a lawyer." And my dad told me if I was going to law school, I was on my own for that. No profession for a Christian woman. So I prayed, and I studied hard, and I knew I would need to get a scholarship to be able to make it happen. And I was blessed to be able to go to Pepperdine University School of Law, and while I was there, I had the incredible privilege to have as my constitutional law professor, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Scalia. And he predicted this mess we'd be in, with the CDC and OSHA and all these agencies dictating Americans' lives, writing the rules, enforcing the rules, adjudicating the rules in their favor, basically taking all three branches of government power into themselves and running amok with it. And he said it would take citizens rising up to stop that. So I really have come to believe these things personally, how important it is that we not let government overreach like this. And then when we look at what's happening at our border, and I'll tell you what, if somebody's breaking into your house and they say, oh, you know, you call the police and the police say, we're making progress. We're not going to send anyone to help you, but we're making progress. You know, when that criminal comes into your house and starts harming your kids and taking your stuff, you're going to rise up and protect your home and family. And Arizona is my home and family, and I will defend our border. The Biden administration has been too busy telling us how to live our lives and frivolously spending our money to do their job to guard our border. And when we've got all this drug trafficking and human trafficking coming into our state, and I see the cartel's lookout towers on the other side of our languishing wall, which the Biden administration doesn't allow us to finish or repair or turn the fiber optics on so we can tell when somebody puts a ladder against it. It is not right. And we have, as a state, and I've been saying this since the first debate last November, we have a right, under our Constitution, to have our legislature or governor declare an invasion and to guard our border ourselves. We do not have to wait for Congress. We do not have to wait for the Biden administration. We can do that now. Some of the other candidates in this race are like, oh, don't worry about that constitutional right. No, maybe that'll never work. We shouldn't try that. We try everything that it takes to guard our border. And one of them was saying, oh no, nobody's done that, whatever. Texas just did it. It is not too late to do this. We absolutely can. And in fact, the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, has endorsed my race. He knows that I'm the person who will guard that border, who will stand arm in arm with Texas. We will do everything possible. We will expedite the prosecutions and the deportations. We will sue the federal government to pay us back for everything we spend. Why should Arizona, why should Texas pay the extra health care costs, detention costs, all that to guard our border when it was their job to begin with? We need to get that money back. And then I will stand up for our U.S. constitutional rights, our parental rights, right to life for the unborn, our Second Amendment rights. All of these rights need standing up for, and it comes down to the Attorney General's office to do that. Thirdly, I will push back on all this federal overreach into our families, faith, freedom, and free enterprise. In fact, it reminds me of your saying here. What was it? Families, faith, freedom, foundations, fellowship. All these things matter, and I will push back on those things. And our constitutional rights are really the rights that we have that come from God. They just happen to be written down in our Constitution, and in our U.S. Constitution, and in our Arizona Constitution. And the Arizona Constitution says, what is the purpose of government? To protect and maintain individual rights. Is that what we see our federal government and others doing? This is the job of the Attorney General, to protect and maintain individual rights. It's what we should be doing, and I'm confident that we can do it because we're resourceful, we are dedicated, and the government must never underestimate empowered citizens and families in Arizona. And I do not want to allow big tech and big government and big media to silence conservatives, or we will lose the next generation of voters. They may only get their news on social media. They may believe what some public schools are wrongfully teaching. They may not know why we love our country and why our rights and liberties matter. And finally, we can't let those big tech, big media groups and government work together to influence our elections like they did. When they bury a true story about Hunter Biden, amplify a false story about President Trump and Russia, they wrongfully put their thumb on the scale and wrongfully influence our elections. And then when you look at 11,600 federal-only voters in Arizona who don't have to provide voter ID and President Biden only wins by 10,457 votes, there's a problem right there. And then the ballot harvesting that we know took place, the other irregularities, again, it comes down to the Attorney General's office to make sure that people are held accountable when they have broken laws. They should not get away with that. We need to guard our elections. And I firmly believe that every eligible voter, regardless of your party affiliation, should feel confident in the fairness and integrity of Arizona's election process and know that their vote counts.
Absolutely.
I've never taken a government paycheck. I've never run for any office before, but I absolutely feel called to do this, to safeguard you, your freedoms, your voting rights, your right to live, work, worship, raise and defend your families as you decide, not as the government mandates, while thriving in safe communities. I know that it's a reputation dragged through the mud and maybe no vacations for a while and things like that. My friends who are attorneys general in other states will tell you that they've had multiple death threats each. And the Attorney General of Indiana has endorsed me, the Attorney General of Nebraska, former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's Trump's counsel, has endorsed me. As has Congresswoman Debbie Lesko and State Senator Nancy Bartow. They know that I have the tenacity to secure our border, secure our elections, stand up for our constitutional rights, push back on the federal government overreach, and secure our elections. So I want to be able to answer some questions here, and I just want to tell you that I want to do this because my country is worth it, our state is worth it, you are worth it, we the people are worth it, and we can do this together. Question right here.
I'm so tired of all the election fraud that we've seen. I mean, Stevie Wonder could see it. It's insane.
I love it.
And prior to January 6th, Walt had reached out to the Attorney General to do an audit, and he said, I corresponded and everything was fine. But now my question is, so much evidence has been pushed up to our Attorney General, and speaking for myself and several of my friends, we're sick and tired that no arrests have been made. There was clear fraud. People need to start being arrested and held accountable, and so I want to know, are you going to do that? Because as far as I know, there's not going to be a, what do they call it? It won't expire. You can still prosecute those people. A statute of
Yeah, and
limitation.
so if you have seen that 20,000 Mules movie, and if you haven't seen it, it's something we need to be aware of and know and do, because when people intentionally flout our ballot harvesting laws, which have gone up to the U.S. Supreme Court and been affirmed, by the way, and that's one actually good thing that Mark Brnovich did. Let me just give some credit where credit is due. But absolutely, those who have broken our laws, those who have wrongfully influenced our elections like that absolutely need to be held accountable. I have no qualms with prosecuting and holding people accountable when they have broken our laws.
How do we secure the border until you get elected?
It is a great question, and let me tell you, I have been reaching out to some people to do that. One, in Texas, saying to them, maybe you could be that person ahead of us that can do that, and encouraging them to go ahead and declare this invasion, guard the border themselves. I would love to see Arizona do this. I would love to see them do it now. We don't need to wait for November to have that happen. It is a great first step, but it is one tool in a toolbox where we need to use every possible tool. We need to prosecute those who are criminally trespassing. We need to prosecute those who are carrying drugs, which is a great percentage of them, by the way, with the way the cartels have enforced that border. There was a lot of things we need to do right away.
I've been taking every stamped envelope, and written a letter about the border, send it back to every elected official
I'm
to
so proud of you.
close the border.
Absolutely.
Good girl.
And you know what, gonna get overrun.
And I'm, a child of a legal immigrant, and we're all not opposed to legal immigration, but in order to do that, you've got to have a secure border with a door, so that you know who is coming in, you vet each person. It is not this free-for-all just to be kind, because it's no longer kind. I have spoken to so many legal immigrants who've been frustrated. They spent tens of thousands of dollars, they went through all the right channels, and I've literally had two of them tell me, I should have just crossed the border legally.
Yeah.
that sets up a terrible
That's
precedent.
bad.
We have to be a nation of laws and have our rule of law enforced.
So on the issue of the border, what's your plans about getting around the federal and native lands and and securing the border?
You have to build that coalition. You have to get the trust of the Indian communities as well, or Native American communities. We have $250 million set aside to build border on private land, but you also have to get that. And maybe what we could do is build the border behind those areas. There are some solutions like that, but we've got to be able to build that coalition. And this is one thing that I've spent a lot of time doing. I've led our manufacturing community for many years. I led our state's workforce development group for the last 6 years by gubernatorial appointment. I know what it's like to take 12 different local boards throughout the whole state of Arizona who are all not so sure about this idea of this workforce development and helping employers. They're like, hey, we're here for the little guy. How in the world are we supposed to be helping a business? It's like, guess what? You can't help that little guy unless you know what the business is looking for. So literally convened all the leaders together in one room and said, let's have a talk about this.
Wow.
Let's figure it out. And we did that, and you've seen, we've added like 400,000 jobs here in Arizona over the last 6 years. It's been amazing. So I look forward to being able to build that coalition and work with our Native American partners to be able to do that. Yes?
In rural Arizona, we get left off of the voice all too frequently. As Attorney
You do.
General, I'm very interested to hear what you will do to protect our water rights here, especially on the water adjudication issue that's been 60 years with our Native American neighbors, and then the more treacherous threat which is coming from those in Maricopa County who want to take the aquifer that we have here. What will you do as an Attorney General to protect us in rural Arizona?
The water rights really are everything in the desert. It's one of the first things when I came to Arizona, I'm like, what is this? We take the shortfall from the Colorado River water if there's ever a drought? I said, this is the time to negotiate that. And I was told, we'll never have a drought like that. That would take a drought that would take like 18, 19 years to ever get to that point. That's exactly when you negotiate it. I would call all our water commissioners. I care about this. And we do use less water in Arizona now than we did in 1957, despite 6 times the population and 16 times the economy. So Arizona and Israel have been probably top in the world for water conservation, and I love this idea of putting some resources into a desalinization effort. Let's look at new sources, but absolutely, your water rights matter. In rural Arizona, everything depends on that, and I'm happy to come and help. Let me know what needs to be done. I'm happy to listen and figure that out because water is super, super important here.
Okay, last question.
Oh, so many to decide from. Let's go with you.
I don't even know how to ask this. This is my first time here. But I hear a lot about these NGOs assisting moving the illegal population into the United States. In your position as an AG, how can you influence that?
You know what, do you know that the Attorney General actually oversees all of the nonprofit groups in Arizona? So there really is a role for them there. And if these NGOs are breaking our laws, if they're passing out ballots to be submitted in the middle of the night in different places, if they're flouting our immigration laws, if they're bringing criminals in, absolutely, the Attorney General can do something to stop that. So I would look forward to that.
What can you do? Exactly what can you do as an AG about that issue?
So
I don't know the process.
yes. So if a nonprofit group is doing something that is an improper type of thing, is violating a law, then there can be a revocation of their nonprofit status. There can be an investigation into what they're doing and a criminal prosecution brought. There's any number of things that could be done there.
And you have the power to do that.
The Attorney General would have that power.
So all we have to do is vote for her.
Please do. Please do. Dawn Row for Arizona. There's literature on the tables, or come and talk with my team. We'd love your help. We're having a campaign headquarters opening this Saturday. Would love any help that you can give me up here. It matters. I will make a difference for Arizona, and I will listen to you, and I'll be there to answer your call afterward as well as before. So thank you so much. be with you.